Hi, welcome to Forum for You. And what I want to talk to you about today is the next step on starting a motherless daughter group. I want to give you 10 tips for your first meeting and how to create success. This is step 6. So off we go. How exciting! You have defined your purpose. You have thoughtfully written and practiced your story. You have created a strong foundation. You found others to join you. You have found a location, and now it is showtime. So, your first meeting, that's great. Let me give you 10 tips that I have found that are very successful. If I haven't introduced myself to you, I'm Marilyn Collins. I'm the executive director and founder of the Motherless Daughters Ministry. I am so pleased that you've decided to spend your precious time with me. I am bringing you this Monday morning ministry moments. And what I want to really talk about today is to give you 10 steps for getting ready for that first meeting. Oh, you've got to be so excited. You have to be so excited. The first thing I want to tell you, the number one tip is to create a safe environment. This is the most important tip of all for success. Remember, this is new to you, but it is absolutely new to the motherless daughters who are coming to your first meeting. If they don't feel safe, they won't talk, they won't contribute. If they don't feel safe, they will not come back. So you don't want that to happen. You want them to come back. So safety, a safe environment. And remember, this may be the first time that these women have ever even talked about their mother loss. So it's got to be comfortable, and they're with a group of strangers. Second thing is to pay attention to the environment. Is it quiet? Is it secluded or out of the way? Does it prevent others from looking in to see who's in the room? Is there a door? Is there a window in the door? I've used a sheet of flip chart paper to cover that, just so that people have privacy. And there's just curiosity when you walk by and you see people in a room, you have a tendency to look at it. So I will do that. Number 3 is the room setup. It's very important that the room is set up so it is inviting and it is also safe. So I use a table and set chairs around it. Many times people want to set chairs in a circle for a support group. And I'm going to tell you, I would absolutely not do that. This does not give any kind of safety barrier to participants. So they feel very vulnerable if there's nothing in front of them. Besides that, where are they going to put their coffee or their drink? But I really like to set up the room as if they're coming to my dining room. Kind of a sense of family. The fourth is to create a welcoming environment. Assemble items that say, I am glad you are here. There's a list I like to use. Water, pitcher of water, glasses, name tags. Name tags serve a purpose of giving people identity. I always have an ink marker for them to use. Don't use a regular pen. It is not dark enough to see at a distance. And that's the purpose of a name tag, is to be able to look across the room and be able to see that person's name. And I let them write their own name tag. So they are creating their own identity. There's some psychology in that. Tank cards. I take a piece of either cardstock, or I've even taken a piece of just regular white paper and folded into thirds so that you have a tent, a triangle. And on that, they can put their name, and that serves the purpose of letting someone across the room see who they're talking to and can connect them by name. And I always allow them to make their own tent card too. They may just put their first name, and that's fine. Consider food. There's pros and cons to serving food. Food is a motivator. It's for attendance. It's reciprocity. So reciprocity means I give you something, you give me something. So you're saying to them, food is your reward for coming to this meeting. You may or may not have the budget for food. And people have so many restrictions these days that you may have to err on the safe side of just fruits and vegetables. But just remember that whatever you do, you may be setting a norm. So think about the pros and cons. I would not serve coffee, particularly if you have it in the evening time. People don't drink coffee in the evening time. I wouldn't worry about that. I would encourage them, if they're coming directly from work, to feel free to bring any food that they would like. And so if they want to have a meal before, well, that's okay. Number 5 is plan to use group management tools. Now, this may seem structured to you, but it's foundational in getting a group started. All groups, when they begin, enter the first stage of group development. Each member is trying to figure out how they fit in the group. The leadership style that fits the first stage is directive, and you need to create that structure. Number 6 is to create an agenda of how you'll spend your time. Make sure your contact information is on that sheet. Your agenda can be very broad. For example, if you have a 1-hour meeting, you may say 7 to 7:20 will be welcome and group foundation and introductions. 7:20 to 7:55 will be topic and discussion, and 7:55 to 8 will be closing comments and announcements for the next meeting. Tip number 7 is to gather your list of your supplies. Now, I'm going to put this on the website so you don't have to write frantically, but there's a list of supplies that I think are important for you to get ready for this first meeting. And in fact, what I always did was I just created a box that said support group, and I had everything in there that I needed. You'll need name tags, and as I mentioned before, tent cards. That could be cardstock paper, it could be regular paper, whatever you would like. Let them fold it, or you can pre-fold those, I'm sorry. Sharpies, permanent ink markers, so that they can have those to write their name tags and their tent cards. You'll need flip chart paper, and we'll talk more about that later, but flip chart paper for everything that you're going to be writing. I use Mr. Sketch markers because they do not bleed through their water thing, and so it's not a permanent ink marker. So you're not going to mark up walls with that. Also, if you do not have the flip chart paper that has adhesive on it that sticks on the wall, then you'll need a way of putting it up there, and I use blue tape, painter's tape, and that's because it does not take surfaces off of walls. So that's another thing you would want to use. Pens and paper, room identification. I mentioned water and glasses and drinking glasses. And make this up ahead of time. Have a pre-printed sign-in sheet with columns with name, email, cell phone number, and also ask them if there's anyone else in the group that should know about it, and if there's anyone else that needs to know about this group. If you have a clipboard, what I always did, took a string to the clipboard and tied it on a pen, so you can put your sign-in sheet on it and all of this together, and they don't have to look for a pen when they sign in. I always say print, but that never happens. So make sure that before they leave, you look over the sign-in sheet and make sure that's clear, that you understand what all they wrote. If you have flyers that talk about dates of the next meeting, you have an agenda for your time together, make sure they have your contact information. And I put that in more than one place. And then the last thing I was going to tell you is that you'll want to have prepared flip charts. I'll give you more information on this in the next step of what flip charts you want to make ahead of time. But a rule of thumb is get everything ready you possibly can. So ahead of time, so you have the freedom to greet people when they come in and talk with them, that you're not trying to get ready. The 8th tip I will tell you is start the meeting on time. Uh, think about the message that it sends. What we usually do is say, oh, well, let's give it a few more minutes to see if anybody else shows up. But that doesn't honor the people who are present. If there's somebody that's there and they were on time, starting on time honors them instead of punishing them for others that are late. And if someone is late, welcome them, but then move on with the agenda. The 9th thing I will tell you is end the meeting on time. So it is critical that you honor the commitment that they have given to you. So if you've said that you have an hour, you're going to meet for an hour, you need to do that. Start your wrap up at least 10 minutes ahead of time. Start knowing that you're going to be wrapping up. If someone has a question that demands more than a quick answer, ask them if they could talk to you after the meeting closes. Then go ahead and close the meeting. There may be time when everybody else wants to talk longer too. That you must, here's the thing you have to do. You have to go and make sure that it is okay with each person in that room, and that for it to go over, and you need to set the time, like if it's 15 minutes. So that means you need to go to Susie, is it okay with you for 15 minutes? Sally, is it okay with you if we go over 15 minutes? You ask each person. Now, if anyone says they can't, simply end the group at the designated time. You can just simply say, it looks like it won't work this time. You could offer to stay longer and talk for those who want to talk longer, but I caution you. So I suggest that you always set out a time that you'll stop and hold to it. And the last tip I want to tell you, number 10, is be sure and start your first group with setting up a strong group foundation. This is going to make a huge difference. And I'll give you more information on that when we get into next time in step 7. But I will talk about the tools that we'll use. We'll talk about the things that we use in the Motherless Daughters ministry for all our groups, clarifying roles and responsibilities, creating group guidelines. And it is not you creating the group guidelines. It is the group creating the guidelines. Opening exercises, closing keep change evaluation. You should always be evaluating your work. You should always be asking them what worked well, what do we need to keep, what do we need to change, what do we need to do differently. And I also talk about tips for recording responses on Flipchart. So I've talked enough. So until next time, next month I'll coach you and talk to you about setting up that group foundation and what we need to do at that. But if there's other things that you need that will help get you started, reach out to me. Go into motherlessdaughtersministry.com, go to the contact us section. There's different ways that you can contact us. You can send an email. We also have it says, there's an app called SpeakPipe that we have a red bar on that contact page, and you will see that you actually can audio record a message, and that audio recording would be sent to me. So if you want to hear more and you want different things, let me know. There will be coaching calls again. And I'll tell you, it is just delightful for me to share this experience with you. I've been doing this for 21 years, and I am so happy that I can share my knowledge. So until now, our time together, I just wish you luck, and I will talk to you next Monday. Thanks. Bye.